Well, good morning, Southeast Arkansas. It is Thursday morning and time for our morning devotional. And our morning devotional this morning is titled, Humble Yourself. We've actually had that title before, but it's a different verse, so we're just going to run with that. And our devotional verse is from the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verses 5 through 8. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. You know, pride is actually considered a virtue in our society these days, but that's really nothing new. Pride has been around as long as created beings have been around. We have pride this and pride that, and people are encouraged to be proud of things that they're not even in control of. We teach young people to demand respect from others simply because they exist. We all know how pride made things work out in God's creation. It was pride that caused the fall of Lucifer and his demon angels. Pride was a predominant reason that Adam and Eve sinned and brought sin and death into the world. Having said all of the above, there's nothing inherently wrong with being confident and satisfied with one's abilities or accomplishments. We simply must remember that they came from God and not from us. Pride is the root of all sin. As we previously discussed, pride was the impetus for the fall of Lucifer and for the fall of Adam and Eve. Pride is self-worship. When we take credit for gifts and skills that God gave us, we worship ourselves instead of God. When we become more concerned with ourselves than with God, we put ourselves in opposition to God. Now, pride among members of a New Testament church destroys fellowship. That's what Paul was addressing in this part of his letter to the Philippians. Apparently, there was some conflict and discord in the church, and individual pride was the problem and its root. Like most things in life, the solution to the pride problem is easy. The answer is Jesus. Did you know that that's just true for any issue in life? The answer is always Jesus, but that may have to be a whole nother devotional. So let's get back on track with this one. Jesus, as usual, set the perfect example to us in this area, as he does in every area. Friends, remember, Jesus is God. Jesus, the divine, stepped down to earth and became one of us and ultimately died for us. He died not just any death, but the most humiliating death the Romans had come up with. If I were God sitting in heaven, I probably would not empty myself of that, give up my throne, come to earth and save the likes of us. Most of us would not, as we would likely think we were far too good for all of that. In other words, we would be full of pride. Will you be obedient to God even when he asks you to do something that you think lessens you? Have a blessed day in the Lord, my friends.